You are listening to The World As I See It podcast. As I See It podcast. As I See It podcast. As I See It podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The World As I See It podcast. I am so excited that you are here with me for episode 39. So today I want to talk about something that I normally don't talk about on this podcast. I'm sharing my perspective on going to a live concert completely blind. So on April 16th, 2026, I went to see Brandon Lake on the King of Hearts tour. There were also performances by LeVox from Rascal Flatts, Franni Cash, and Pat Barrett. And I feel like a lot of sighted people, especially, it's visuals, the flashing lights, the stage design, the outfits, and I'm not saying that those aren't part of it. But for me, since I can't see that, I go off of how it feels. The vibes, the moods, the emotion, that kind of thing. And I will say, I listen to music at home all the time. But let's be real, and let me tell you, it is nothing compared to when you're actually there. Especially at a Christian concert. Because when you're at home, the music is in front of you or in your ears. But at a concert, I don't know if you've ever thought of it like this, but the music is all around you. You feel it. You feel the bass that, it vibrates your chest and the floor that vibrates underneath your feet. It's like the music isn't just something you hear. It's something that you're standing inside of. It consumes the whole room. And every artist brought something unique to this. When LeVox sang, you could hear the legendary, you could hear the emotion in his voice. And hearing it live, you feel the soul behind it. And then there was Franni Cash. I felt like her voice had this incredible pure tone that just cuts through the air. And I don't know some of these people. I didn't know Franni Cash and I didn't know Pat Barrett, but they still did really good. And even without seeing Franni Cash, you could, feel the emotion that she puts into every note. And yes, to be honest, navigating a huge arena was hard, especially because this concert was sold out. But it's going to be hard, any concert. That's just a challenge you overcome. But, I went with, some of my family. I went with my grandparents. And once we got to our seats and the music started, it was just awesome. All of that, stress from the crowd, it just kind of faded away. Like from getting into the arena, finding parking, doing all that. All the nervousness of that just faded away. But the most incredible part of the night wasn't just the music. It was the worship. Because this was my first Christian concert. So I didn't know what it would be like. And you just knew. If you've been to a Christian concert, you know what it's like. And I could tell that God was in the room. It's a specific energy, and it was just powerful. And when thousands of people are all focused on one thing, you feel the energy. It's like in the air. I don't really know how to explain it. It's one of those things, it's kind of hard to explain unless you've been to a Christian concert. And there was this moment that I'll never forget during the song Gratitude by Brandon Lake. If you've heard that song, it's really good. He eventually did something, he stopped singing, and, there was nothing left but the crowd singing. There was no instruments that I could hear. He wasn't playing anything. He just, started singing and then let the crowd sing, the song back. And the whole arena was singing word for word, and it was incredible. There was this brief, I guess you could say, the best way I can explain it was a holy kind of silence right after we finished, where, you could just still feel the ringing of the voices in the air. And that's when Brandon spoke up and was like, if that isn't revival, I don't know what is. And that's what he said. I think that it kind of, made him speechless after a second. After the crowd finished the song, everybody was cheering. I think he was just speechless. And it didn't stop there. Brandon, preached the gospel boldly, and he gave people an opportunity to give their lives to Jesus. And seeing, or rather feeling that moment where people were making that decision, it was just incredible. It was one of those nights that I will never forget. It was easily my favorite part, knowing that revival wasn't just a word he said, but something that actually happened in people's hearts right there. I'm so thankful that I got to experience that firsthand. It reminded me that even when things are a little hard, to navigate when getting, to go to that concert and all that kind of stuff, the payoff of being in that atmosphere and worshiping with thousands of people is just amazing. It's hard to put it into words, but you just know the impact that it has on you, and you feel that impact. So, if you have any questions, feedback, or ideas, don't hesitate to comment down below if you are on YouTube, or you can also send me an email. My email is theworldasIseeitpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to this week's episode and hearing my perspective. Stay curious, keep listening, and I will talk to you in episode 40.
You've been listening to the World as I See It podcast.